and welcome to another episode of Whose Turn Is It Anyway, where you guys get to look through the window of our cult that is our gaming group. And today I am joined by Andy Kerley.
Hello, mate.
Adrian.
Hello.
And Becky.
Hi again.
How are you guys? All good?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, really good, mate. Thanks.
Cool.
Good.
So this weekend we spent our weekend together at GRIDCON.
Did?
Everybody have a good time?
Yes, thanks.
Amazing. Loved it.
I know this is coming out after the other podcasts, but I got to say I really enjoyed it. I thought the atmosphere was fantastic. All the games we played were great. Everybody was nice and chilled and relaxed, and I had a wonderful time. I know that you guys have done the podcast about it, but I've got to give a massive shout out to the four guys who were sat opposite us when my clumsy fat fingers dropped a load of pieces on the floor from a game that we were playing, and they proper stormed in like an SAS team.
Jumped to the rescue.
They
Definitely
did.
jumped to the rescue.
All phone lights were on instantly, searching for the smallest piece on a multicoloured carpet, and the piece turned out to be under my foot because I am a complete idiot. But I want to say a massive thanks to those guys, and that was kind of the atmosphere of the weekend for me. It was kind of everybody doing their own thing, but everybody open and chatty and happy. And,
everyone was smiley happy, weren't they?
Yeah, and sort of willing to engage with complete strangers. For me, it was a wonderful experience. But I've got to give a shout out to those four guys in particular, and because I am a moron, I didn't get any of their names. So if you,
but they know who they are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Feel free to get in contact. So yeah. So let's talk about Hexes, the segment where we talk about the games that we've played recently and managed to get to the table. So Becky, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, GRIDCON was quite a gaming event, but what game have you enjoyed getting to the table?
Well, I finally got to get my sticky mitts on a copy of Astra. Finally. So my own copy is still in, well, I don't know where it is. Yeah, in transit somewhere. Not in my house anyway. So I borrowed Astra from the Games Library at GRIDCON, and well, in fact, I think I did that 3 times. So I got to
So you
play.
didn't enjoy it at all? Then?
I absolutely loved it, and reading the rule book beforehand was really good. So this for me was kind of a next step above, really, from what I'm normally used to. Because it's a Mind Clash game. All right, it's Mind Clash Play, which is the kind of softer version, but really loved it. Really beautiful cards, beautiful artwork, nice and kind of thinky. Yeah, loved it.
Saw quite a few guys playing it, and I think I got to the event as you were wrapping up kind of playing it, so I didn't get to see it at the table. But for you to play it 3 times is quite impressive. There will be an event. As soon as that box comes through the door, I will be getting an event on the group. So happy days. Adrian, for you?
I've already, if you listen to the last episode, you've heard me go on for about an
Shamelessly
hour.
Plug the last episode. Just to keep the listeners in suspense about your answer.
Well, they've listened to me go on about an hour about all the games I played over the weekend just gone. So I'm just going to talk about some 3D printing. So I put a shout out on one of the Facebook forums saying that I was after like a big stretch goal box from Marvel United, empty, nothing in it, just so that I could, instead of taking 3 or 4 boxes around, I could just take the one slightly bigger box around. And so someone was really nice and delivered it for postage, which was lovely. So I've spent a few days now 3D printing and designing the insert for that, as well as a few other games.
I'd love to have the technical knowledge, but mainly the patience to be able to do that stuff. It's just something I don't possess.
It's the best puzzle there is. It's brilliant.
Yeah, especially if, I don't do a lot of sort of like interlocking parts, like lids that click into place and stuff like that. But especially if you want to do that, there's definitely a few print runs that go through where it's like not quite right before you get it right. But for the most part, I do enjoy. I enjoy doing the 3D design. It just takes so long to do. I'll sort of quite often do an evening of CADing, of design work, and then over the next couple of days the printer just works away in the background. In fact, it's going on at the moment.
So you're excited to get home and see what it's done?
Yeah, it should have. Hopefully it should have produced what I've told it to print. So if not, I'll have a big blob of plastic probably stuck to the end of the
Looks
printing.
like a bird's nest. I reckon we could use them in Wingspan, even if it doesn't turn out like you think it's going to.
Don't you think you've created enough components for Wingspan?
Never, Rob, never.
Fair enough. Sounds awesome though, mate.
So so that's been my last couple of days. It's just creating some 3D printing stuff, and 3D printing it always makes me happy.
Nice. Kerley? I know you're on the podcast as well. If you want to shamelessly plug anything that you've said on the other podcast? But
I mean, I've said a lot on the other podcast on the GRIDCON one to do with Astra as well and a few other games. But the main one that is not GRIDCON related was ISS Vanguard.
Nice.
Me, Davey, Tambo, and JP have started up a ISS Vanguard campaign, and absolutely loving it. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's just like for those of you who may have played the computer game, there's a computer game called XCOM, which plays very differently to the board game. But it reminds me of that, where it's like a sci-fi RPG where you're kind of slowly leveling up your ship, and like you're getting better rooms for the ships, and you're going off doing different missions, and the crew members you're taking slowly evolve, but you don't take, the same crew members on every trip, so they're all slowly leveling up, and it's just for what is quite a simple game as far as the aesthetics go, is very involving.
When JP said it's kind of like Mass Effect, kind of piqued my interest quite a lot.
The visual style is definitely Mass Effect, yeah.
That sounds awesome. Might have to see if I can squeeze in on when one of you are ill.
I've asked for a guest spot on it because I nearly backed it, and I was like, if I can't be part of the campaign, can I have a guest spot when one of them's sick or can't make it or something?
Can I just sit in the
really
corner
good.
and watch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good fun, and very immersive.
Awesome.
Very immersive.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Well-
ISS Vanguard, definitely recommended.
You heard it here first, people. Well, I wasn't on last week's podcast, so for me, I finally broke my TM cherry. So I played Terraforming Mars with yourself, your brother, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Not typically my sort of game,
No.
but really, really enjoyed it. But also, we played Hoplomachus, which I'm sure JP's talked about.
Only a little bit.
I don't believe that.
It was brilliant.
He may have said, I wish I could have taken all of Rob's turns for him.
Mainly because I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but it was great fun. But for me, we played a game that JP bought for his family last Christmas called Fort.
Yeah.
And it's a game where you basically play as a gang of children creating your own street forts. And for me, it was brilliant. It was nice and chill. The interactions around the table were funny. Watching Becky almost come out in tears when Adrian's stealing all her
good cards.
all of her children, because if you don't play with your mates, they go off and play with other people.
Well,
and that's basically what it was. And for
Learn more
me,
about Adrian stealing children.
Becky's children,
It was JP
that makes
that
it all right.
not
then.
random ones.
Very
He knows
specific.
them. But it was a lot of fun, and for me, that for quite a silly little game almost.
It's a small box game, but it's got quite a lot of.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant.
It wouldn't be one I would normally
No.
sort of reach for or play or anything like that, but we're in sort of the chilled
Part of the evening,
part of the
wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of that sort of afternoon, just sort of chill out for a bit, and it just worked perfectly because it's a bit mean, isn't it, as a game? But if you take it in the right spirit, then
It's quite funny.
I think it's mean because
it's funny.
You've got a card, a handful of stuff, and you're like, well, I could do that or I could do that, but you cannot do both. And if you only get to do one of them, you have to put all the other cards out there for someone to steal.
Yeah.
So it's very like, oh, which one do I do? Which one do I do? So it's fun.
When someone's building up a nice engine and a nice head of steam, it's just funny just to be like, I don't need this card, but it wrecks your plans,
Yeah.
so yoink.
Which is kind of childish
Yeah.
behaviour,
Yes,
which
absolutely.
is kind of in keeping with the game,
Yeah.
which I thought was fantastic. So
Yeah, it was really good.
for me, that was a couple of the highlights.
Yeah,
Good.
definitely.
So this week we're going to be doing another round of niche number ones because, well, we enjoy doing them, to be honest.
And I've never done.
And
a
Becky's
niche
never
number
done
one,
them, so welcome
yeah.
to the crew where
Thanks.
we kind of talk about questions that fit into a very niche category, and that force a lot of us to kind of think deeply about our answers. Now, I can only speak for myself, but I'm not particularly a deep thinker, you know, it challenges a lot of the others, and I like to see them squirm. So we're going to run through a few questions. And sort of see what delights kind of come out of the memory bank. So our first question is going to be favourite game you like, but you don't really know why. And I'm going to start this because he's the one that moaned about this question the most. I'm going to start with Kerley.
So usually, if I like a game, I know the reasons why I like it. So I'm kind of gonna purposefully misinterpret the question a little bit and say that games that kind of break my usual kind of remit for games.
You're jumping,
So, for example,
you're jumping for a loophole like it's a ball.
Well, exactly.
Nice.
Why not? But generally, I don't like co-op games because I like to be the one in control of whether I win or lose games. Basically, there's a few exceptions.
When have you
to that.
lost? Behave.
Well, this is it. When you drag me down, Rob, usually.
I do try.
Oh, that's a bit harsh, isn't
I do
it?
try.
I love him really.
Fine line between truth.
I love him
hurtfulness,
really.
isn't there?
I love him really. So I'm going to say probably Spirit Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I absolutely love that straight away, and it's not the type of game that I usually like co-op. If I like co-op, I like a fully co-op kind of Mansions of Madness, something like that, where it's
Indeed.
a little bit more thematic and all that kind of stuff. But this is just a straight up co-op. You win or you lose, and it's just amazing good fun. So I've mentioned it before. I'm not going to go into the whole of what Spirit Island is, but that one fitted it the most.
I've never played it, and I must admit I am really looking forward to playing that game. At some point, I'm really looking forward to sitting down and.
It'll be right up your alley, I think.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that. So yeah, hopefully soon you banging a game night.
Yeah.
Becky, what is your answer to this question?
Well, I really like this game, and maybe I do know why I like it. It's because it's simple, but it's not really similar to any of the other games that we generally play, and that is Rummikub. Sorry to bring it into a completely, banal area. I really like that game. Kerley hates it. It's funny because I think probably Kerley hates it because I've beaten him every time. Is it now, or maybe just some of them? But
We all know you're lying,
yeah.
Becky. Like,
Kerley doesn't lose.
exactly.
But that's why he doesn't play Rummikub, you see, because he doesn't win at Rummikub.
Now, I think you'll find I don't play Rummikub because it's crap.
No, I don't. I disagree. But I really like it because it's just simple. Anybody who doesn't even game can play it. I've taken it to work on a night shift. You can drop it quickly and run off if you have to. And it's just simple. Simple, but it's not like any of the games we traditionally play. I would put it in that bracket of maybe not Monopoly, but similar sort of...
Old school family game.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Adrian?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Kerley. This is a tough question. You've put some really tough questions in this lot.
I'm pretty sure you came up with this question.
Possibly. But the fact that you picked it makes it quite tough.
Adrian anyway.
I've definitely picked a few on this list. I'm not sure about this one. But yeah, it's a tough one. So, and again, I feel like I know why I like a game or I know why I don't like it. So I kind of went for, a slight sort of tweak on it because this is a game that I understand parts of what I like, but the whole, that Gestalt whole is much more than even I think it should be. And that's Manara. So Manara is a cooperative dexterity game where you sort of put you've got a base with some colours on it, and you've got to you turn over a card and you take that colour column and you put it on the thing on the base in the matching point, and then when you fill up enough of the bases, you then have to put another level on it. And some of the cards are like move an entire level with all the columns on it up another level and stuff like that. And you have to kind of learn the decks a little bit. The first time you play it, you have to kind of learn the decks, and then there is dexterity in it. And so I can tell you, I think this is the best move. But if you're not confident in that move, it becomes not the best move.
Yeah, the best move for you.
Yeah.
With my muscle control and everything. No, I'm being serious because everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
So your best move potentially isn't somebody else's.
Exactly. So I can kind of go, okay, well, I think you should be trying to fill up these or whatever. But ultimately, it's just a suggestion, and it even away from that, as I say, if you're not confident in it, it no longer becomes the best move. It doesn't matter whether it whether mathematically you think it is or not. Like a lot of co-ops, you can mathematically work out what's the best move. And yeah, it's just it has everyone round the table. When that tower gets quite high and you've got through most of the decks or through most of the columns, everyone's really like on edge and tense about that tower not falling over,
and you're rooting for it. Everyone is like, come on. It's a really good game.
I've never played this game. I've never heard of this game.
I'm surprised you like it because it's not really like any of the games that you tend to like, and you're the ones that lent us the copy, and I really liked it too.
Yeah, as I say, there's something about it is I don't mind dexterity games, but they're not my favourite, and I don't always like certain puzzle ones. I like certain ones I don't, but I kind of like all the bits. But yeah, it's definitely that 2 + 2 = 5, where it shouldn't be as fun as it is for those mechanics. So yeah, that's what I'm going with on
I'd
that
agree
one.
with that one.
Sounds awesome.
No, it's good.
For me, it is pretty much bang on the nose. I really enjoy it, and I have no idea why, because everything to do with this game should offend me. And that's Avalon.
God, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's against your remit of
every time we play
conflict.
it stresses me out.
I
I don't. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't like lying.
You're evil.
And Davy's pressure in this game was something I've never experienced before. But I really enjoy it when we play it. Like, whenever everybody says, "Shall we play Avalon?" a part of me is just like, "Oh, please say no, please say no." Then when we start playing it, we get so into it that, again, it's the interactions that game brings out. If nobody's ever played Avalon before, it's kind of like a hidden
social deduction game.
Yeah.
Usually.
So some of you are good, some of you are bad, and you're trying to figure out who's who. And it's play it with a good group of people. Would be my advice. But everything about that game makes me feel uncomfortable. But every time we play it, we have an absolute blast. And again, I think it's one of those games that's kind of coming to the end of its tenure within the group. Like now, we a lot of people will probably want to play it a bit less. Kerley's shaking his head as I'm saying this.
Still love that game.
I think JP said that he's coming to the end of it now, and as he's our cult leader,
we have to do what he says.
Yeah.
We have to
Be
believe.
banished.
We have to believe what he believes. No, I think he's gone off it a little bit, because I think apparently he's overplayed it.
Yes.
But I think that is a really good choice.
Yeah.
I can see why everything about it is against your very core, but you still love it.
But I enjoy playing it because it just brings out so much fun.
Yeah.
So for me, Avalon.
Cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
Good choice.
So we're moving on to the next question. Favourite game that you never get to the table? And Adrian, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Real. Not one of the harder questions you asked, but Dice Hospital for me. So for those who haven't played Dice Hospital, it's kind of an engine builder dice management game where you bring in an ambulance full of dice to your little hospital, and then you pick either rooms or extra doctors, which gives you extra workers, and then you move the workers around your own little hospital, and it will say things like, if you're curing a 4, you also get to cure another 4. If you're curing a green dice, you get to cure another green dice, and it can become quite a sort of a crisp, intricate puzzle of trying to do everything in the most efficient order ever. And
that sounds really stressful for me.
Yeah, and this is the thing is my problem, because people who like Role Player and Sagrada, which is also like a dice management, and like Role Player has some really similar elements, they just don't seem to get on with Dice Hospital, and I think it's because it's just that extra level of crunch to the puzzle. And so yeah, it just never gets to the table for me. Like, people just don't seem to enjoy it. It's still in my collection. I can't tell you the last time it actually made it to the table, but yeah, I really like it. It's just I find it tough with the groups I've got to get that one to the table.
Well, it's in my collection as well, thanks to you and the Bring and Buy sale at UKGE. So when you do want to get it to the table, I would like to play it, please, so I can learn how to play it.
Yeah, as I say, it's the basics of it are quite simple, but it's that working the puzzle of moving the 4s together or the greens together, and then trying to kind of link up these combos. And there's also a bit where you have to, not like a hospital, you get more points for discharging the most healed patients in a turn. So you're kind of trying to keep them slightly sick, some of them, while you heal up the particularly sort of battered and bruised ones or whatever, and then all at once they're like, there you go, and then you get a load of points extra.
I don't think we do that at work. I've got nothing to do with the discharge area, but
Yeah, you've got a quite slight cough still. You can stay there.
I want to make sure you're completely healed while someone's recovering from a broken leg.
Yeah, pretty much how it works.
Kerley, I'll ask you the same question.
So I'm going to take this, I think, how the question's meant. Games that we rarely get to the table. And mine's going to be War of the Ring.
Yep.
Yeah, so me and Adrian were trying to get the game to the table now. It's a 4-hour minimum game. It's an hour to set up, especially if you haven't done it in a while. I don't want to say high strategy, but it really is kind of like not a...
You got to be in the mood for that game.
You got to be in the mood
Absolutely.
for it. And it's 1v1 for the most part. You can play it 2v2, but it's really not where the game is aimed at. You know, the game was designed as a 1v1 and it's kind of tacked on for a 2v2.
Yeah, just split both roles down the middle and there you go,
exactly.
you can each have half of it.
So it's difficult persuading people to play, and I'm quite good at it, and I think that's switched off a couple of people as well.
I've been warned not to play this game with you.
The thing is with it, and this is something that I genuinely contend with, is do you take it easy when you're trying to teach someone when you're quite good at a game? Right, there's a bigger question in there.
Because for me, smash their souls into oblivion.
It's not that I struggle to take it easy on people, but I feel like it's a disservice to them if I don't try my best. Because if they beat me, they haven't beaten the best me. So I kind of try my best every time I put a board game on the table, unless it's with a kid or something.
But that's the thing. If you've waited 4 or 5 months to get this to the table,
and it's a 4 or 5 hour game. You don't want to pull your punches in the first 5 minutes to realise actually they've got their head screwed on
and then wipe the floor with you. Yeah.
So it's just one of them. I've delivered a couple of drubbings that's probably put people off, but I think the last game I played was with Adrian, and that was his learning game, and it was a really, really close fight. So.
I thought I nearly had you at one point, and then in the last few turns I was like, I haven't, he's going to do
it. But it was a really close one. No one minds a really close game, but so it's one that I haven't really pushed to get to the table, and it's nice that Adrian liked it enough that he's pushing for that, so we're going to sort it out in the next month or two, I guess.
Hopefully.
So,
Awesome. Becky?
So mine's pretty quick and easy, really. Quacks of Quedlingburg. Really like that game, and I'd almost sort of forgotten about it until I saw someone playing it at GRIDCON. I was like, oh god, yeah, that game's really good, and it's got more to it than I think you remember it having, because each little spell book has got the other side, so you can play with different varying rules each time. It's not exactly the same each time. I think we tend to play it, well, maybe if people have got perhaps children that come round, and our house isn't child friendly. That's not to say, we're not friendly to children, but we're not really. No, but we don't have a lot of friends that come over and stay with children, so we don't really tend to play it, do we? But I really like it.
I've never played Quacks.
It's great.
I think you'd like it.
It's just a game for children, and apparently I'm going to really like it.
It's not for children. It's not for children.
It's just push your luck, silly nonsense, which is really fun sometimes.
Which is right up my street.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like the Terraforming Mars sort of engine building, it's a bag builder, so you're kind of you're trying to better the odds of, if I put these 2 ingredients in together, a lot of them, quite often there's 2 ingredients or 3 ingredients that kind of bounce off each other powers-wise, combo-wise. But it's completely random out of the bag, which you quite like, some of that sort of...
Yeah, I like that, not figuring everything out.
So
it's just a fun game.
Yeah.
It's just a fun game.
I was just joking, but no, I'd definitely be up for playing.
It's just good. I mean, it doesn't take very long to play. We have the expansion, which I don't think really adds maybe that much, just another kind of lair, but it's just really good fun.
I think there's
which one do you have?
So we've got the Herb Witches.
Yeah, which is the one I've got. Yeah,
I think there's another one. I don't know. I haven't got it. Yeah,
expansion.
and I haven't bought that yet. So
yeah, it's just good fun. Really, I really like it.
When you do get it, give me a shout.
Yeah,
I'll be up
get
for
it.
playing it. I thought about this, and a lot of my games. Well, I don't have a lot of games.
Yeah.
So, but for me, it's a game that we played 4 years ago.
I think I know what you were saying.
Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter, yeah, is exactly right.
Mainly because I kind of forgot I had it. It's like when new games come out, you're more excited to play new games, different games, and things like that. And we played it a couple of times and had a blast. And for me, it's kind of the one game that I haven't played in a long time, but I really enjoy, and I really need to set an event up to see if anybody's interested, mainly because I really want to play it again.
I'd be interested. I enjoyed it last time we played.
I think it was good fun. So, again, it's not the most serious game in the world. And I could, in theory, play it with the family, because you can take out all the violence cards, all the cards containing violence and marks, so you can quite easily go through and take them out, so it's a little bit more kid friendly. So potentially try that one night if nobody else is interested. But no, that for me it's Dead of Winter. And JP has, because he's our glorious leader and he has to get involved. He has said the answer to this question, mainly to annoy you, Kerley.
Right, here we go.
Cloudspire.
Yeah, it's
I hate that game.
Yeah.
He says it's awesome, and I don't care what Adrian and Kerley say, so suck it.
I would say, no, it's not awesome. It's rubbish.
I've heard a lot about this game, and it seems very Marmite.
It's not that it's terrible. It's just that I think it deliberately holds certain decisions back from you almost. And there's just something about it that just doesn't quite add up. Like the complexity of the overhead of rules mixed with that just doesn't quite sit right with me. But there's plenty of people who love it, and as always, it's one of those things of not everyone loves everything. And
I think the fact that it's like, it strikes me as like a strategy game, but you don't make all of the decisions.
Yeah.
That was just like, nah. So I think there was one point where your catapult had a range of like 3 or 4, and their tower had a range of 2, and I was like, brilliant. I'll just stand outside range and bomb them until I'm through. And yeah, it automatically goes in within their range and gets bombed to shit and they're dead. And it's like, right, okay, what in the world? Why would you do that? That made no sense to me. I was like, right, check out. Go on. See you later. Yeah, not for me.
Davey has also got involved and given us quite a list.
Right.
Barrage, Gaia Project, Monumental. He says it's hard having space to play your own games.
We'll just stick with Quedlinburg.
We'll play Quacks. I'm happy with that. Great answers, guys. Cool. So, next question. I think I know the answer to some of these questions for other people, but favourite game you got rid of, but wish you hadn't? Becky, I'm going to start with you.
Very easy. I don't get rid of games. End of the answer. I am a hoarder. I like the collect, and the idea that I might then want to play it and do not have access to it. No, absolutely under no circumstances. Nope, not going to happen.
Buy a new house just to
Yeah,
fit
That's what they've done.
I'd stash it anyway. I'd stash it in the attic. I'm not going to get rid of something once I've bought it if there is even a 1% chance that I might want or someone else might want to play again.
I am very much under the same thought process. I collect stuff that I should have thrown.
Me
I think
too.
We've still got Wii games in the house.
Yeah,
we don't have a Wii.
I'm just a womble at heart. There's no way that I can get rid of something if there's any possible use in it. No chance.
You know I'm not a controlling husband. However, may need to intercede at some point because the volume of games that you're currently buying versus the lack of getting rid of any ever means that we are literally not going to be able to move.
Judgment. I'm just hearing judgment from over there.
That's very controlling
We'll just
of
buy
you.
more
How dare
I
you?
know. It's disgraceful.
When we haven't got room for more Kallax, then come to me again. We'll have a little chat about it.
She's got it above the toilet.
Like games to play in the toilet. What is wrong with that?
Under the kitchen sink, they've shoved another Kallax in there.
No, when we physically out of room, then I will reappraise the situation.
Then you'll ask for an extension.
Yeah. And I'll just be knocking on your door. Oh, can you keep these games for me? Because Kerley's made me chuck them out.
You know you've got a problem.
I'll just say you're welcome to an extension as long as she pays for it. I'm happy.
You know you've got an issue when you're stashing them at other people's house. When it gets to that point, I'll
go to her car and it's like, no, she can't give anyone a lift. It's
What about yourself?
Myself, I a bit like Becky, I don't really get rid of games, mainly because my collection's not that big.
I was going to say mainly because you don't buy them, right?
Yeah, well, why would I? JP buys them all, and Becky buys them secondhand at Games Expo. So why do I need to purchase them? But I thought about this question, and because I don't get rid of games, I went old school. I wish now, with every fibre of my being, that I kept Space Hulk. The original Space Hulk. Now, obviously, I got rid of it when I was 12. I had no idea that I was going to get back into the hobby at the time. Not even for, because it would be worth something. I'd love to play that game again. And I know they've redone Hero Quest. I'm kind of hoping that they'll do...
They've redone Space Hulk twice now.
Have they?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
They just do it in limited runs. So the last one was about 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
They did it, and they just do a limited run, and when it's out, it's out. So I imagine at some point they will redo it again.
That game,
keep your eye out
it not only got me into board gaming, but it also got me into the Warhammer sort of stratosphere and everything involved with that. Now, I don't play tabletop war games, but I do listen to the books.
Yeah.
So, I listen to a lot of the sort of Warhammer books, and I'd love to have a copy of that game again, even if we play it once a year.
Space Hulk is very sort of it's very dungeon delvery, almost in 40k verse, isn't it? And the production quality on the last one was great. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for it because they do print it every once in a while.
Well, I typically find out about these things when they're arriving from Kickstarter, so you'll have to keep it in mind if you do see it again. Kerley, yourself, what sort of game do you regret getting rid of?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to join with Becky a little bit in the fact that actually, I've just accused her and I don't get rid of many games. Although I have to say I'm more open to it than she is. I think I got rid of 2 on the Bring and Buy recently, but I think long and hard before I get rid of any games, so I don't tend to regret them if I'm being honest.
I think you do get rid of games that you don't enjoy, don't
Yeah.
you? Like, whereas I'll kind of keep it think, well, maybe I'll give it another go.
Yeah.
Whereas you're quite surgical in thinking, well, I don't like that, so I'm just going to get rid.
Yeah, exactly. On Mars I got rid of to JP because it's just not my sort of game, and Terra Mystica I got rid of because Gaia Project's the same but better, and it's like, so I got rid of those, but I don't regret it. So I'm going to be a little bit odd and say Netrunner.
Yeah.
Purely because I got rid of it at the time. It was the right decision at the time. I got good money for my cards. The cards that I got rid of when I went, I want to play Netrunner again, would not have been current anyway. So it was still a good decision. But I did rebuy Netrunner in its current format. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Nisai,
Yeah, something like
Well,
that.
JP's had the exact same answer.
I saw that.
Yeah.
He's had the exact same answer to the point where obviously now he's gone out and bought it again as well. So,
but I sold my collection for like 160 quid. Like me and Ian had halves and halves, so I sold him mine for 160 quid. And I've just bought it back in for like 50. So lovely. So it wasn't a bad decision, but I did rebuy it, so therefore probably qualifies for the question.
Adrian, yourself, what's that game you kind of,
I actually do sell games. I feel like you've asked a question where no one sells games, but I actually do sell some games occasionally. And I don't know that I've ever really regretted any, because normally I sell a game because it inhabits the same space as another game and I prefer the other game, or I just didn't like it and therefore got rid of it. The one that I quite liked that didn't land with my gaming group at the time, after several tries, was Flamme Rouge. So Flamme Rouge is it's a cycling game, and you go around a track, and essentially you've got a hand of different numbered cards, and you're going to pick a card and sort of put it face down. You will turn it up and you'll move along the track, and the kind of rub of it is that if you are 2 spaces behind the next person, you get to move, you get to slipstream an extra space up. But if you're at the front, you take a exhaustion card or something like that, which just adds like rubbish numbers to your deck. So when you then shuffle and draw some more, you might have exhaustion in your hand. But it's a game of fine numbers, so
you want to get out in front at the right time.
Yes,
a bit like cycling. Really.
You got 2 riders each, and there'll be like 3 or 4 teams, obviously depending upon player count, and there is a bit of, I need to save maybe over the entire game about 5 or 6 single-digit numbers over everyone else. It's really fine. It's very subtle, and I understand why the group didn't like it as much. So I sold it, didn't think anything of it, and then a game called Heat has just been released.
Yes, I saw a lot of people playing that at GRIDCON.
GRIDCON, and it's basically Flamme Rouge with a few more mechanics and racing cars. And I was like, I'm so gonna buy that and try it again and see if I can fool the group into not recognising that it's Flamme Rouge just with a new design and some extra mechanics. But the extra mechanisms it adds, I do think adds a little bit more, so it's not quite as subtle in why you win or don't win. So yes, that's my answer for that one.
Well, I see quite a few people playing it, and from the box art alone, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it was appealing, wasn't it? Yeah. I thought that.
Stuart also has got in touch, and Kerley, I think you're going to like this one, but the game that he regrets getting rid of, Civilization 2010.
Nice.
Only because Kerley bangs on about it and how much it's better than New Dawn, which he now has instead.
See, I saw that when he put that in there, and he's not quite right, bless him. Love you, Stuart, alright? But I've never played New Dawn, so I can't say whether it's better or worse. But what I would say is Civilization, I've been told, plays a lot more like the computer game, which I'm obsessed with. So the 2010 version is much more true to the game, whereas New Dawn is a little bit more friendly to board gamers, I guess.
But you've
So-
just picked up New Dawn.
I'm perfectly happy to give it a go,
Give it a go.
and I've got the expansion with it, which I think adds a lot. So yeah, I'm glad that Stuart is willing to give it another go.
And Davey, much like the rest of us, none as he ends up keeping so many until he does like a job lot of getting rid of games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess again, games that are hard to get to the table, if they are taking up space, then they're kind of the ones that you can't, whether you like them or not, I suppose. But no.
I think Adrian's idea of like the one in, one out kind of system is probably good, and I do try and enact that in. I do try and enact that in other areas of my life sometimes. Like, you know,
Sorry guys, but there's a
Like-
massive smell of bullshit.
like shoes. I
horrified.
decided I'm not going to buy any more shoes until. So that was a one in, one out policy. So I think that idea of, is this better than, hey, is this better than the thing that is most like it? I think that's a really good idea. Then that's, you know, I can say it's a good idea and not do it. And I appreciate that my attitude to it is incorrect. However, deal with it.
Nothing incorrect about it, D. You do what you like. But it's just
In
funny.
your own
funny.
space on your own Kallax.
It's just funny hearing you.
No, I think it's a good idea. I don't do it, but it's a good idea.
Fair enough.
I think being on a diet and running 5 times a week would be a good idea. I don't do that either.
That's true. Yeah, fair
comment, Dave.
yeah,
Fair comment,
when you
Dave.
put it like that, you have a very valid point. So the next question: favourite game to lure non-gamers in. So we've all had that look when we tell people we play board games.
Oh, what, like Monopoly? Yeah, I play that too.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
yeah, that makes you instantly want to strangle someone. I'm going to go first with this one, if that's okay, because it kind of comes with a story. So New Year's Eve.
Sorry.
New Year's Eve, I've got a very good friend who couldn't believe I played board games, kept banging on about it all night, and we were playing. I think there are games like Cards Against Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Where party games, but they're not really a board game
Yeah.
if you see what I mean. So we were playing Cards Against Humanity and Pick Your Poison, which is very similar. And then somebody bought in One Night a Werewolf, the party edition, and the lighter version, not the the legacy version. And we started playing it, and this guy was skeptical, to say the least. Kind of, look on his face like I've offended his wife. Sort of that sort of look, like, what, cannot believe we're doing this on New Year's Eve. We did the first round, caught the werewolf, and he just exploded and was like, "This is amazing. This is brilliant."
Cool, got another one.
Exactly. So, and I was quite surprised how much he enjoyed it, to the point where he's like, "What else have you got? Let's go and play. Let's do this."
Rage.
He said, "I thought you'd be pushing pieces around a board." Like, he just didn't kind of understand the breadth of games that are out there, which is understandable. He doesn't play board games. So for me, getting 8 people around, and the app is awful. So, it sounds like Kermit the Frog on it, doesn't it? If you remember.
Oh, what the
app that you can get for One Night a Werewolf that kind of gives everybody instructions and
sounds like Avalon with a Kermit impression.
Yeah, very very similar. But for me, seeing how many non-gamers enjoyed that game and then wanted to try other games, for me was a bit of an unexpected one. But for me, it's One Night a Werewolf.
Nice.
Yeah, good one.
Adrian, yourself?
I had so many answers for this, but I don't often play with non-gamers, play board games with them, so I'm going to go through just a 2 or 3 if that's okay. So chess, like if you've got kids or whatever who are intrigued in board games, and quite often they've heard of chess and they know about chess, and you can kind of show them and it gets them thinking. And it's chess is quite a heavy tactical game, right? But if you pull your punches a little bit and sort of show them what they can and can't do, I found that quite often they turn out to be gamers in the long run. So it's playing
My daughter,
Get them in.
let's play that long game on it.
My daughter absolutely loves chess, but I think she forgets that we have a chess set the majority of the time, and every time she remembers, she's like, "Can we play chess?"
Yeah.
So that's
it
a
kind
great
of
shout.
sets people's brain up almost for doing that thinking, and then quite often they'll find down the line that they become a bit of a board gamer or a war gamer or just a nerd of some description.
It's the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was one, and then the other one, which is probably more for sort of grown-ups or whatever, that again are sceptical. I played Century a few times with non-board gamers. So Century, Spice Road, or Gollum Edition, whichever one you've got. I've got Gollum Edition because it's got nice shiny plastic pieces in it. And again, that just entices. If you put cubes out in front of someone, quite often, like they're like, "What's this?" If you put big plastic, shiny sort of gems in front of them, they sort of get a bit more. "Ooh, what's this?" And it's because it's such an easy idea, right? It's you play a card. The card is either you gain gems, you upgrade gems. And if you're not playing a card, you're pulling everything back into your hand, or you're buying a golem for points. That's it, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's no, and people can people can kind of get lost in doing their own little thing, and then they look up and the golem they're about to do was gone, and then they're like, "Oh, this is gaming, right?" So I've got to beat you to the punch, sort of thing. So I've managed to get a few people in using that one as well. So yeah, I think they're my two choices.
Awesome. Becky, I know you play a lot of board games at work, so what have you got?
Yeah, well, this is not one that you could play at work.
Fair enough.
I mean, I use things like cockroach poker, and just one has been a really good hit at work. This makes it sound like I don't do any work at work. So if I work a night shift and we need to, we haven't got anything happening.
You justify it all you want.
Well,
your boss is probably not listening
sounds
to you.
correctly like she
No,
doesn't.
but you have to be able to. So if we need to run to maternity or whatever, you have to be able to literally drop it and run. So it needs to be games that aren't particularly complex to set up or whatever. But the game that I would use to lure non-gamers in to what I would call a proper game would be Mansions of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that co-op element, it's friendly. It's like it's a thing you do together as a group, and it removes that kind of competitive element a little bit. And it's fun. It's like a whodunit murder mystery kind of thing. And yeah, my friend who is a non-gamer really, really likes that, and she's always keen to play it again.
I love the story of
Mansions.
I love the interactive story of it.
It sucks you in, and you become this little character. It's just
Nobody
really
can
good.
see Adrian's face, but he got very offended by that.
It's Mr. Wibbles.
It doesn't have to be though, does it? It's not always, dirty sea monsters. Sometimes it's
Cthulhu is in actually very little of them.
But yeah, no, I think it's a really good interactive game. Okay, you do have to have the app, so you do have to have the game, which I appreciate is not the cheapest game, so it's not going to be something I think non-gamers might buy. But as a lure to get them interested in the hobby, I think it's a really good one.
I think it's fantastic. It was one of my of my early sort of experiences in gaming, and I absolutely loved it. So now it's a great shout.
A friend of mine who was just kind of getting into board games, is the first proper board game he bought, so it's a great shout for him.
The only downside to Mansions of Madness is it is really, 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 really difficult.
It's brutal.
If some people like introduced to the game, are like, yeah, we've lost. It's like, oh.
But it might pull you back in. Oh well, I know why we lost. We need to be a little bit more targeted or whatever.
I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, but it's quite a steep learning curve for the first game.
Definitely.
Kerley, yourself, what game do you put on the table to bring people into the cult?
Yeah, I'll cheat a little bit like Adrian, so I'm glad you did it first. It depends who the audience is. If it's I'm not saying kids because it's not really a kids game, but Quacks is what I'm going to go back to. Quacks of Quedlingberg, because it's easy to pick up. If you've got anyone who's like a little bit younger, then it's quite easy access and easy mechanics and good fun, with emphasis on the fun element of it. You're all drawing out at the same time and all this kind of stuff. So so Quacks, or if it's not slightly older but a more traditional board game, then it'd probably be Lords of Waterdeep. I know it's not everyone's favourite, but it is one of mine. But it's low complexity, it's really easy to teach, it's really easy to learn, and it's just a really good introduction to worker placement and I don't know what you call it, but card fulfillment type games.
It's resource management, worker placement, isn't it? So it's a good choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair shout. Stuart has said, who are these non-gamers that you speak of?
Well, fair enough.
That was his answer. JP has said Clank.
Yeah.
Still haven't played Clank.
I haven't played
really
it, but I've watched some playthroughs. I can imagine
it's
that's
a
good.
push your luck type of game.
Similar to Hunger, really, as far as I can tell. I haven't played Hunger, but from what I was looking at,
similar, like the same publishers and stuff like that. So it's got a lot in common.
I've only played it once, but it's a game that we played with our wives, and they really enjoyed it. It was it's a really fun game. And Davey has said Sushi Roll, dice drafting game.
Yeah.
I've seen the box art for it. I've never actually played it.
Yeah, I've never played it.
Sushi Go's pretty good for getting that kind of again, that sort of mentality of what you're trying to do and building a sort of set collection or whatever it is. So I imagine Sushi Roll is going to be quite similar.
So they are out there. The games
You
to
can
get.
catch them in. You can reel them in if you know what to throw out there.
Come and join our cold people. Cool, awesome. So the next question: favourite game you were reluctant to play because of the box art or presentation? Now, I know that you guys are massive into your box art, Becky, especially.
Yeah,
And
makes
I know,
a big
Kerley,
difference to
you've
me.
been put off by games in the past by box art, whereas Adrian likes everything beige.
I don't like it.
No, it's true, Adrian.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I'm happy to play a beige game where I know a lot of people wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And so quite often I find that, like, I've answered this question as in, what do I struggle to show other people because it's just beige. Because if it's got a better production, brilliant. But if it hasn't, it doesn't bother me normally. Right,
So because of that, I'm going to start off with Kerley. Because I know box art's kind of put you off in the past. When I got the new Descent, people were complaining left, right and centre about the art. I didn't even pay it any attention. So for me, it doesn't really matter. But I'll start with you.
I've got a few for this one actually, but I won't go into it too much. I will say theming puts me off, I would say, more than the box art.
Yeah, that's probably true with me as well.
Yeah. But for this one, quite an easy one because I actually like the theme of this one, Gaia Project. So for me, Gaia Project, sci-fi, planets, galactic kind of, exploration, 100% up my street. The art is awful.
it's bad.
It's really bad. Like the alien races and stuff just look not even cartoony, but bad cartoony, And I love the game. The game is brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. One of my favourites.
I've heard you guys talk about it a lot, and I've seen the art, and it's got like a big tree on it, isn't it? No, I'm thinking of something.
Maybe Terra Mystica has kind of got a similar sort of thing.
But
yeah,
this is lots of grey, lots of spacey rubbish.
Yeah,
it
just looks like
it
almost looks like a 70s game. I mean,
it does. You're right, absolutely right. It looked kind of early 80s kind of cartoon.
Maybe that's intentional, but it didn't land with me at all, put it that way. But I mean, in contrast, like the planets and stuff look pretty cool, like the way they've done them. So it's not for everything, but yeah, the races themselves they look pretty awful. So that put me off it. Started playing it, absolutely loved it. So
JP said exactly the same thing.
Oh, did he? Really? There you go.
So yeah, I really should try this game out. I think
it's awesome.
Adrian, yourself, what game has put you off from looking at it, but you actually really enjoyed it?
There's not many. This is what I mean, is I'm quite happy to play a beige game or a game that looks really dull with basic components, as long as it's got the gameplay there to back it up.
I think that's the key component, isn't it? With any game, it's that element of it. But I think the box art sells a game.
Yeah, definitely does to me.
Can do. Again, I get a lot. I consume a lot of YouTube and podcast sort of shows. So quite often I will.
Wait, there's more than one.
Yeah, there's more than us.
No. Don't listen to him, people.
There's some very good ones out there.
Lying.
Just make sure you listen to us first, and then them.
He's drunk, listening.
So I sort of thought of this as the one that I struggled to put in front of other people, where they immediately kind of go. You can just literally see their eyes widen when you put it on the table, and it's Concordia, and it's quite famously known for having bad box art, which it is. I've got the Venus version, which has got nice box art on it, but the base game, without the expansions in, has got notoriously bad box art.
Because we played that, didn't we?
Played
and
it.
I remember it being quite a good looking game. But I didn't realise there were other versions.
So the board is the same as everyone else's, which is just beige with a few colours sort of splattered on it. Not particularly there's no particular finesse to the design, really. I don't think it's quite basic and kind of does what it does. But
there's a lot on it.
There is a lot,
there, which I think kind of.
It's a kind of famously known for being a dull-looking game. It's kind of got a bit of a thing about it, and quite often when I put it in front of people who don't know, or don't know that, if I don't sell it to them a bit before I bring out the box and put the board on the table, you can literally see eyes rolling. You can hear it. It's kind of like, ooh, okay. So that's it. But to be honest with you, any kind of lookout spiel or whatever, the lookout games. Any of those kind of Uwe and Feld and the early ones, they've all got a very similar sort of very basic design, and then they've got normally like a nice chunky euro under it, and it's just hard to put it in front of people that like the aesthetics of of some of the more modern game design.
I just like the Roman sort of element to it. I thought it was really cool. I didn't even pay attention to the colours.
Yeah.
I really didn't. Mind you, I was struggling trying to figure out what the hell I was doing. But yeah, Stuart has said Carcassonne.
Yeah.
That's quite famously...
I quite like that, really.
Oh, really?
I quite like the look of Carcassonne.
Yeah, the boxes have definitely improved. Not by a lot, but they've definitely improved over the years. I remember when I first got into gaming, looking at it and kind of going, okay, that looks a bit dry. And then, of course, discovered dry Euros.
That's fair enough. Davey has said Terraforming Mars. But glad,
Blasphemer!
But glad that he did play it, as in...
What's wrong with the artwork? It's
know,
amazing.
people say that.
Terrible.
I know, I've heard Adrian say that. I got no problem with the artwork.
The production level is awful.
The production level of the base game.
The card art is dreadful.
I've only ever...
But it's a decent game.
Becky, what game put you off from the look of it?
I've spoken about it before, Lords of Waterdeep, which I'm really sad about because it's one of my favourite games. But that box art, oh God, it's just so unrepresentative of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes the game... I mean, I know the game is about warriors and...
Wizards
and all, yeah, I know that, but it's not really, is it? It's black cubes, purple cubes, orange ones, and white ones. The
artwork... Way to shatter my illusion of
that
game.
Well, the artwork just doesn't need to be combative, and it just reminds me of... And maybe this says more about me than it should. It just reminds me of like prepubescent boys' bedrooms, of that kind of...
I think that's why I enjoy it, I'll be honest with you.
That kind of... When you're a young teenager and you're fancying a boy and you go around, it's just full of this... rubbishy artwork of wizards and crap. But the game's so good. But the game's so much better than that.
That's it. I mean, I agree. Adrian's going to say in a minute, I can guarantee that the theme is totally tacked on, and it is.
It is.
What you said is just could be anything. But they decided on D&D, and they went... Yeah, they went balls deep.
Yeah, they went hard in it. Yeah.
With the picture, which is very representative of the kind of the early noughties or late 90s D&D.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So I think I agree with you that the theme doesn't really sing.
I just think they just don't need... They just could have had something else. But I really resisted playing that game for such a long time just because I thought the box
I think it affected my wife as well when she saw the box
horrible.
And was just like, I'm
not playing that rubbish.
But then when we played it, we had an absolute blast.
This is it. And this is why I think it really undersells the game, because the game is fabulous in my humble opinion, but the box art just puts people off. What about you, Rob? What was yours?
For me, it was a game that we played at GRIDCON. You've talked about the art of this game before, and you put it on the table, and I went, nah. I do not want to play this game. I got bullied into it.
Yeah, sounds...
By Becky, and absolutely loved it. And it was Zuli.
Zuli
Absolutely brilliant.
Because it's so good.
It looks like a CBBC animal cartoon.
Yeah, it's child friendly. It's childlike.
It's very childlike, but to be honest,
it's lovely though. It's pretty. It's cute.
It is cute, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant to the point where luckily we managed to find a couple of copies.
We did indeed.
And that's the most excited I've ever seen Becky in my entire life. To go run off and pick up another copy of this game, but it was fantastic. It's such a great game, and to be honest, after the first round, I paid no attention to the artwork.
Yeah,
it fitted.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. But
very
well.
I
can understand why it would put people off. I can.
But it was absolutely brilliant, and I loved it to the point where, like I said, I went and bought a copy, got home, and told my girls the next morning, we have to play this game because they'll love it as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it was Zuli.
Fair enough.
So the final question, favourite game that puts you in a state of zen?
Oh.
Basically, yeah. That game that you either bring to the table to kind of de-stress, switch off, or go fully into an escapism sort of world to get away from everything. And I think there are quite a few out there. So Becky, we will start with you.
Well, I don't think any game's ever put me in a state of zen until this point, and that's because I'm not very good at them and have to really think hard. So that's not very zen-like for me. But when we were at GRIDCON, I decided to bring Framework, which was a game that we'd won at the 24-hour board game. Well, sorry, Kerley won it and gloriously happily gave it to me, which was lovely. So it's a Uwe Rosenberg game, and it's just about kind of collecting frames of different colours. So it's a tile placement game, I decided to play it for the very first time a solo player. I've never played any solo games, so I thought, well, I'm going to give it a go. While you guys were playing Terraforming Mars,
I was to say, is this a game?
Yeah, I didn't really fancy playing Terraforming Mars, but I thought, right, I'm going to get this out and give it a go. And it was so relaxing, and because you just sat there in your own little mind, in your own little puzzle. I'm going to play this. No, I can't put that there. That's really... And it was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it.
You had 2 games of it, right?
Yeah, I sat there.
And you beat your score.
I did, and I was really pleased with that.
So happy.
I was so pleased with it. Maybe because if there's only one player, you have to win, right? So that's quite nice. But yeah, it's just a very simple. Your little tiles have either got just a little number with a colour around it, which means you have to collect 2 of those or 3 of those blue ones or whatever. And then you've got some tiles with little frames around in the same colours. Some of them have got both of those things on, and you're basically kind of collecting things together in your little grid that you're placing your tiles down in. And it's just really simple. It comes in a bag. It's easy to take around. Simple game. Really enjoyed it. Awesome. Really kind of chilled out. Yeah. Enjoyed it.
I think that was the last game that you played, wasn't it? And I think it was quite a nice end to
really
to the weekend of mentally trying to figure out every game.
But yeah, no, this was just a lovely, just kind of, that was nice.
Awesome.
So I'd recommend it.
Kerley, what do you bring to the table to chill you out?
Well, I don't really have too much because I don't play games single player at all. And as Adrian's probably going to discuss in a minute, but it's like, can you be zen when there's any form of like other...
If there's lots of contention involved in the game, it ruins that kind of...
Yeah, so there's not too many games that I played like that. I would say probably the closest to is I'm going to go with the classic Terraforming Mars. Like the last game I played on GRIDCON last day was... I wouldn't say zen-like, but I would say it seemed to be like whatever I did just fit perfectly into
we were very aware of this.
I just had my best game ever where I just like every decision I made happened to be the right decision, I started collecting Jovian tags, and then you get a whole bunch of Jovian tags, you get like an Earth tag, and then it's like like extra money for Earth tag. It was just like it just seemed to be like really flowing and nice, so I would say that's about as close you get to it. And equated to a ridiculously good score. Welcome to the Terraforming Mars.
Do you know what? I played it, loved it, didn't even know my score. I didn't even pay any attention to how much I scored.
I think in that first game you don't really matter, does it? It's just
no, not at all. But that's the point. Is that
can you see that puzzle? Can you build that engine?
It was just a point where I enjoyed it that much. I didn't even care like what the end result was, because I just really enjoyed the game. So for me, you were a very good winner on that game.
Why, thank you very much. Why didn't you tell my brother that?
You were, because the only way I knew that you did really well was when Becky checked your score, and kind of her eyes went wide, and you were like, I know. And that's the only way I knew it was a good score.
Nice.
So no, I had a really fun
I'm glad you
playing
enjoyed
that.
It.
So,
is it the familiarity that gives you that zen state though? Is it the fact that because you've played that game a lot, right? And you pretty much, like we've talked about it, you know a lot of those decks, what's in that deck, and you know what's available. Is that what puts you in that zen?
Yeah, I would say so. Familiarity with anything always creates that autonomy in decision making that can feel quite zen-like, I guess. So it's like there is, good decisions, bad decisions, and automatic decisions that can feel kind of obvious and therefore zen-like. So yeah, probably partly at least.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of games that. Not my answer, but games that do have contention in them that kind of put me at ease, and quite often they're the games I'm familiar with. So yeah.
But even then in TM, it's like so little contention, like a little bit on the board maybe, but for the most part, it's quite a engine building game, like on your own kind of thing. So
awesome. Yeah. I enjoyed it anyway. I thought it was great.
Good. Glad.
Davey has said pipeline. There's something about laying pipes that calms the soul.
That's because he's a plumber.
That's exactly
That's
what it is.
zen for him. It's like his day job.
Bloody hate that game.
Adrian, what about you, mate? What do you get to chill you out?
I've mentioned it a few times before, so I won't go on too much. But railroading is my. It's again, you play it solo. Whether you play it solo or you play it with other people, there's no contention in it. They've now released a mode where there is a bit of I want to be the first one to get that, but you just make a cool little grid with roads and railways on it, and however badly or well you do, I always find there's a little bit you're particularly proud of in your little grid, and it's like, oh look, I linked that all up perfectly. Look, it's really sod the right hand side of the map where it all goes all over the place. Got railways going into lakes and all sorts, like sod all of that. But this bit here I did really well with, and sometimes you do just have a really good game where you kind of go, this looks lovely. Like I've got a good high score and this looks really nice. But whatever it is, you're just rolling some dice, doodling a little bit on the pad, and I tend not to care about my end score too much.
I think that's part of it, isn't it? Not caring if it goes well or not, but just being in the moment. I think that's what Zen is, right? Just being in the moment and being sort of free mentally. So no, that makes perfect sense. Just kind of doing your thing and not really worrying about the end result.
It's my holiday game because it is that. It puts me in that nice, relaxed mood. I quite often only bring it out when I've got a few days off. So yeah.
For me, it was in lockdown. Obviously, a lot of people had quite a bit of spare time on their hands. I worked through the whole thing, but it got to a Saturday afternoon. The girls are off doing their own thing. My wife's doing something in the other room. I think, right, well, I've got a solid 4 hours. I got out the second edition. I know I've talked about this game a lot, but I just played it on my own, put it on what essentially is easy mode, and just did a few chapters. Just did a few campaigns. Yes, there's a lot of bits to it, and kind of setting it up was a little bit stressful, but just going around, with ridiculously overpowered characters, just annihilating everything, which is quite ironic because it's all about peace and sort of mental calm. But for me, there was something about just doing an easy task that kind of just chilled me out. Just kind of put me on that base level where I'm not worried about what the next enemy is. I'm not worried about the decisions that it makes. I just run in and smash everything. And that but for me it was for me a lot of the stress that the games brings are the decisions that I'm forced to make. That's why typically I prefer co-ops, because less of that pressure on yourself as a collective. But playing it on my own, just kind of played this chapter with fully maxed out characters with their ultimate abilities and weapons, and thought it's great. It's just me. It doesn't really matter because obviously it's not like we're doing a campaign or anything. But I just wanted to play a game, and obviously we couldn't get together. Nobody could do anything else. So I thought, screw it, I'm just going to do that. And I think it was the most zen I've ever been playing a game. It's literally just going through the motions.
Makes sense.
So for me, it was the second edition. Obviously, I haven't done it with the sort of the newest edition. But no, it was good fun, and I enjoyed it.
Good. That's good.
JP has said favourite game it puts in play is Zen. Hard to think, but Sagrada.
Yeah, dice drafting, kind of beautiful colours, building a window.
And he said it was the only one that instantly came to mind. I've got no idea what Sagrada is.
It's a little puzzle. You're either looking for the colour of the dice or the number of the dice, and you're trying to make a pattern. And if you get the best pattern, you win. Yeah. It's really it's a nice little puzzle. It's that kind of, we talked about it before, right? It's that crossword sort of thing of I'm just giving myself a little
Sudoku
puzzle to do.
Style.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. So we've got a question from a listener, and I thought it was quite a good one because this affects me quite a lot. Mainly due to naivety, but still. So they've asked, what Kickstarter games have you passed on but regret when people started showing pictures of receiving them? So I'm obviously very novice Kickstarter. I've only ever backed one game, but then when I sort of play these games that have been backed on Kickstarter that come with all the expansions and all the upgraded bits and pieces, and I think, I wish I'd have kind of got in on that. For me, it was Zombicide, when JP bought out these 4 massive boxes of stuff, and then he bought out the plastic car that you can just mow people down in. I was like, that is awesome. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing. So for me, it was kind of Zombicide, but I mean, Too Many Bones. How I wish I'd just got into that immediately. I really do. Because obviously to get it now is quite a chunk of change. Yeah. But like I said, because I don't check Kickstarter quite a lot, anywhere near as much as you guys, I kind of miss a lot of them. So for me, it's basically ever one that's come out and been good. But Kerley, I know you've been heavily backed a lot of Kickstarter projects in the past.
Yeah, I have.
What ones have kind of slipped through the net where you think, I wish
I've got a weird one with this one because it's not slipped through the net because someone else bought it in the group. But it's Eclipse and
Who was
Nemesis.
that?
It's always
Who was that?
JP. It's always JP. It's like, I think with Eclipse we got a wires cross, or I got my wires cross. I thought Eclipse was a different type of game, and I went, "Oh, you get that one, mate. I'm not going to bother." And I was like, "Oh, it's that game. Yeah, I wish I'd have ordered that." But he already had it on order, so it was like, "Oh well." But Eclipse, Nemesis would be the main ones, and I've kind of got one that I'm currently missing out on that it's not too late for, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Slay the Spire. I love the computer game of Slay the Spire.
I've got the app. It's wonderful.
It's an amazing game, and they've got the Kickstarter. But I mean, it's a whole separate topic, really. But the price point for the upgraded version is like 140 quid for what is like bits of cardboard and the cards. And I'm like, I can't justify it.
How much is the game?
Like £140.
How much is the
Oh well,
computer
they're
game?
good, like 20 quid tops.
I think
But it's just so much money for what I see as being part of it that I can't justify it, and I've just ordered one that is probably going to be bad value anyway, so I couldn't afford to make two bad decisions on the same day. So,
well, at least you know Becky's not going to chuck them out
yeah, well,
when they arrive.
I've got a few regrets coming soon in the post, so she can shut those out. But yeah, so I think I would say Nemesis and Eclipse are the games that have been on Kickstarter that I ummed and ahed about, and have turned into my top 3. I would say my top 3. So yeah, bit of regret, but they're still in the group, so it's okay.
So you've still got access to them.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Becky, I know that your foray into Kickstarter is fairly new.
Yeah, well, the only thing I've actually backed is Zuli, and that was great. Great experience with that, and just received my expansion in the post today. So
nice.
Very nice.
You were talking about that the weekend.
Yeah. But the thing that I almost backed, and then really felt sad that I didn't, was Dog Park. And then when we played with Tambo the other day, and it's like, oh, this game's really good.
Tambo said to me, "Do you want to play a game about a dog park?" I was like, "No,
It's brilliant.
I really don't."
It's like Wingspan,
but then you guys played it and said how good it was.
It's really good. But then I have got a very darling, wonderful husband who, there you go, look at him there. But
look at him there.
You can't see, listeners, but he's basking in his own glory.
Yeah, he unbeknownst to me bought it at the from someone at GRIDCON, and early Christmas present for me. And it is the Kickstarter Collector's Edition. So
you smooth criminal.
I know, look
I'll
at
do
him.
my best.
Yeah, so he got serious husband points for that one. So it's all good.
What Kickstarter projects have you backed that you haven't told Becky about? The Warrens?
I mean, loads.
What he chooses to do
We're
in
not
his
that kind of
Kickstarter
couple.
projects,
No, I know,
he can
I'm
help
joking.
himself.
But yeah, I have got a few on that meant to be coming soon.
I just know that it means he can't moan at the amount of games I'm getting. So
That is very true.
It's all good.
That
isn't
is true. Adrian, yourself, what keeps you up at night that you didn't back it on Kickstarter and pay a ridiculous amount of money for it, even though it would be worth it?
I find this an odd one because I think I've kind of chilled on Kickstarter quite a bit now, compared to where I was. And now what I tend to find is I'm backing the Kickstarters where the stretch goals and the Kickstarter exclusives are higher than sort of what you can buy in retail, because normally you can pick stuff up in retail, and even if you pay a good chunk more for it, you can get most of everything. I think there's a couple that come to mind. Nemesis was one of them, with all the funky extras. You got a stretch goals in that's not available at retail. And Marvel United's the other one. When I looked at Season 2 and then saw the difference in price from Season 1, and I was like, I should have backed that the first time round, because the price had just gone, like, tripled almost for sort of a similar amount of models and options in it than this first season. So yeah, I kind of regret not backing Season 1 of Marvel United, purely because of the cost and the extra miniatures you got in Season 1 were the kind of extra miniatures I want, and then in Season 2 it was X-Men. I'm not fussed by X-Men, so all the extra miniatures they unlocked there, I was like, oh, whatever. And to buy the first one with the stretch goals was just a lot of extra money the second time round. So
I think if every Kickstarter pledge came with a crystal ball that allowed you to see in the future, I think their sales would absolutely skyrocket, because it is that how much do you want it versus how much you prepared to kind of pay for this. Like, I went all in on The Witcher and spent a ridiculous amount of money, on it, and it's still not here.
No.
Now, I'm still very excited to play that game because I love the world, I love the games, I love the books, and everything involved with it. So it was almost guaranteed that for me, I'm going to enjoy this game, even if it's a bad game. I'm going to enjoy it, and that's the only thing I've ever backed on Kickstarter. But it gets to the point where, like you said, can you get it without getting it in Kickstarter?
Yeah.
And can you, then it becomes a cost thing, right? So am I prepared to pay more money for that now that I know it's good? Whereas, like you said, the Kickstarter exclusives, that kind of makes a bit more sense. Because what did you say at GRIDCON? That there were 2 games that you were eyeing up, but one of them was for sale with the Kickstarter exclusive stuff that you can't get anywhere else.
I know one of them was Castle of Burgundy.
Yeah, so there's 2 games in my sort of to buy pile, and they're both about the same amount of money. One is The Gallerist by Vita Lacerda. I've talked about that on the last one. So
is that the one you constantly talked about on Saturday?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but that's about £110. The Game Found has the deluxe-fied Castles of Burgundy with acrylic hexes and all the it's got some 3D printed stuff on 3D models that to me probably don't really suit the game almost, but the idea of the acrylic hexes and the extra beautiful artwork as opposed to the kind of shonky artwork that I think is in the current Castles of Burgundy, just kind of, it's a tough choice at the moment on that one. I've backed so many Kickstarters and then it's not come with a lot of extra stretch goals, and then it's cheaper in retail and you kind of go, well, why did I buy it?
Yeah.
Why did I kickstart it almost, when it's turned out almost, you've got a few extra niceties and yes, you've made the game happen, but a lot of the Kickstarters these days would have happened if Kickstarter wasn't a thing. The company has enough money to produce it.
Yeah.
And I kind of end up looking at it and going, I could have just waited for retail. So now I'm quite sort of cool on Kickstarters and I have to see. So I backed Catch the Snitch because it added so many extra models that were Kickstarter exclusives or that were free to the game, and I thought, fine, I'll back that. But otherwise, there's not been many games I've backed recently, unless they're like a tenner, and I think, cool,
it's worth a shot. If it's terrible, it's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you very much for your question at Always Plays Blue on Instagram. Thank you very much for getting in contact. And if anybody else has a question or some ridicule that they want to send our way,
maybe less of the ridicule. We can do the other.
But I will obviously go through all the methods on how to contact us at the end of the podcast. So thank you very much for your question. And now it's time for our penultimate turn, where we kind of go through what we're looking forward to. It should be game related, but doesn't have to be. So this is what we've got coming up. So Becky, what do you have coming up in the near future?
We've got a game of Everdell tomorrow, which is going to be quite exciting. So we're just going to play the basic game, probably with Belfair expansion, I think, because it's Stuart's first game. But then we're going to play with the additional extras, maybe like a week later, just me and Kerley.
Yeah.
The Mistwood, New Leaf, and Mistwood, I think it's the expansions that came with the really, really lovely, sexy storage box thing. So yeah,
that's recently turned up in the Kerley household.
Fair enough.
It was an exciting day for Becky.
I've never played Everdell, but I was with you guys when you bought it at Alexandra Palace.
Well, if you're free tomorrow, mate.
But the box art, I looked at the box art, I was like, wow, that looks like a pretty game.
It's beautiful, beautiful. And it's a really good game as well. It's got solid mechanics. It's really good.
And it's got a 3D tree in it, right?
Yeah.
Which is pointless, but
What more can you ask for?
Rob, me and you can appreciate
I don't
the
need
tree.
functional.
it's a lovely game that was sold by the tree, and a lot of people got introduced to it by this big 3D tree, so it kind of did its job in that respect, but it is pointless.
But it does look very, very pretty. So.
To be fair, I don't care about the tree.
It's a very nice game. Yeah, it does the job.
Adrian, what have you got coming up, mate?
I've got a lot of Lacerda coming up in the near future because JP has got into it, and obviously I enjoyed my game the other day of it. So lots of different Lacerda games coming up. Yeah, Kerley
does not look impressed by this.
I think also On Mars was probably not the first Lacerda to probably get into. I'm sure other people might disagree, but it's the most rules overhead of any Lacerdas, and there's a lot of rules overhead in Lacerdas.
To be fair, I can see it's a good game, but it's just not for me.
Not doing it for
it's
you.
not for me.
So I've got I've got a lot of that coming up, and as I said, I picked up Spirit Island cheap in the Bring and Buy, and I cannot wait. I've only played the one game, which was our 4-player game at the 24-hour board game marathon. I can't wait to play some more of that. I'm really excited to get that to the table.
Let me know when you're playing that, because I really want to play it as well.
It's definitely going to hit the table a few times, I think, before the end of the year. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Kerley, have you got anything else other than the 2 games that have been mentioned already?
Well, I was going to say Everdell, so I haven't really got much more to add to that. We got a few of the old classics, but we're not going to go over those ones again. But we got continuation of ISS Vanguard coming up. So that's basically it for us. We got a few.
You're really looking forward to that, though.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really good fun. Would recommend it to anyone. So especially people who like the RPG style games, really. So yeah.
Well, for me, my nights at the moment aren't really sort of free to game much. We're very, very busy at the moment. So for me, it's putting together my Lego Ecto one.
Nice.
That is kind of game-ish, isn't it? It's kind of...
It's very zen.
Yeah.
It's very zen. I haven't undertaken many big Lego projects before. And I got it out of the box yesterday, and I started it yesterday, and the instruction booklet is a good 2 inches thick. It is massive. So if I complete putting this thing together, I will be amazed. But for me, for me it's going to be putting together a massive Lego set, which I can't wait to do. I don't even care. I can't wait. It's going to be so great. For me, that's what we've got coming up. Potentially watching the new Black Panther movie at the weekend. Wakanda Forever. I think
that'd be pretty good.
Which looks alright.
A friend saw it and said it was good.
It looks alright. I mean, Ruby, my youngest, is so excited about it. So in lockdown, she said, "Daddy, I'd like to learn about another culture." So I put on Black Panther, and this is 2 years ago, and she's still walking around going Wakanda Forever. Like, it had such a massive impact on her life that, so I know she's very excited to do it. So potentially might go and watch that this weekend. And that's it for another week of our podcast. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you guys for your interesting answers to very niche questions. And every time I hear you guys talk about these, I discover games that I didn't even know existed. So thank you very much for your knowledge and input. If you'd like to contact us, our email address is players@whosturn.co.uk. Our Facebook is Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast, and our Instagram handle is @WhoseTurnPodcast. And our TikTok videos, you will find them at Whose Turn Is It Anyway. So thank you very much. Please get in contact. And once again, whose turn is it anyway?